ahead and get started here. We want to welcome everyone back to Coach's Corner, all those who are here tonight and also watching online on YouTube. We appreciate everything you guys do. I want to thank Steiny's again for having us. I know John's over there chatting up, but thank you, John. Thank you to his staff as well. Today, no players. It's a little bit different, but we're welcomed again with our head coach, Kenny Orlando.
Happy to be here.
Kenny, thanks for coming again.
No problem. It's a good week. Right.
Oh, good weekend for sure. And we have our goaltending coach, Steve Soto. Steve,
how's it going?
Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here as well.
Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, we obviously had a pretty big weekend this past weekend when we welcomed the Pueblo Bulls and the Northern Colorado Eagles. Kenny, before we kind of get going, how do you feel so far for the weekend coming back?
It's a really good weekend for our guys. They played complete hockey games, and just to see their bounce back after a tough weekend 2 weekends ago as a group in the locker room, and their performance and execution on the ice, that was a really complete weekend that was fun to be a part of.
So after the weekend, 3 wins in a row. Ogden right now 27-11-4. Good for second in the Mountain Division still, 8th in the entire USPHL Premier. Again, 64 teams in our division, so pretty significant as far as the jump that we made. Overtime victory on Friday, 3-2. NOCO, we beat them 5-1 Saturday night, and then Sunday finished it off with a 6-1 win over Pueblo again. This Thursday, we leave for Pueblo for the final regular season trip, at least, to Pueblo, or to Colorado, rather. So big 3 games could mean a lot of implications for playoffs. Basically, if we're able to walk away with 3 wins, 6 points, we should all but lock up second place in the Mountain Division, so we look forward to it. Obviously, we have Steve on Coach's Corner with us this weekend. Next week, we have some mystery guests. I can't reveal quite yet, but the deadline is Thursday for any trades or additions to the team, so you can probably guess that it's going to be some of those new faces coming to Ogden, if we do acquire any. But again, Kenny, we talked a little bit about the weekend, so we'll kind of move forward and talk a little bit more about it. They were exciting games. It felt like we were watching a lot of playoff hockey. There was a big response needed from the team, especially coming back from Northern Colorado 2 weeks ago. First time we got swept all season, first time being swept in over a year, really. Tell us about the response from the team from each game, and how does that help you as a staff, you and Steve as a staff, prior to the deadline coming up this week?
Yeah, it was a really good feeling for the guys. I mean, we went through some turmoil the last week or two, and to see the guys' response and be able to bounce back and get through it as a group and play playoff hockey and practice like a playoff hockey team last week in preparation for a good weekend at home, and to see them go out Friday and execute that, and just looking at all those guys in that room, that they were bought in. I think that was the biggest difference between this weekend and last, was that you could look at every person in that locker room and say that they're bought into what we're doing, and their play was showing it 100% of the time. So that win on Friday night really helped propel us into a confident state going into Saturday and Sunday, and we knew Saturday that we needed that win bad in regulation against Northern Colorado with how the standings are right now, and to see the guys come out and perform and win the way that they did was they were very deserving of that, very deserving, and to come back Sunday with one more repeat great performance. The guys right now are feeling really good about themselves, and just they earned those 6 points. They were definitely not gifted at all. They earned every one of those points this weekend.
And Steve, tell us a little bit about Friday night. Nobody wants to ever mess with a goalie so much, right? You don't want to mess with their routine or anything like that. Going up 2-0 in the third period, the Bulls able to come back, tie it late in the game, 2-2. What was maybe going through your mind as a coach? Maybe try to calm down Marco, who was in net, or just calm things down on the bench overall.
Honestly, for me personally, that's definitely a pressure situation. They've come back really quick. They obviously have the momentum on their side. At this point, I'm hoping that he's forgotten what has happened, has got the short-term memory, and he's just ready to face the next shot. All I'm worried about is the next shot, the next shot, the next shot. Make sure he's communicating to his team. He's being a good backbone, and from there, then saves like that, things like that, then that gives our side momentum. And as you saw, we had some really good saves on Friday night there that I think propelled our team to eventually come out on top.
And then, Kenny, for you, you're trying to calm everything down, especially with your forwards group. Dick with the defense, and then Steve, he's got the goalies. Was there a moment between the third intermission or the third period intermission overtime where you just kind of told everybody, just settle down, just keep things simple?
Yeah, I think you've been in the office enough to hear us promote that, the simplicity of the game. And when you get into those tight-knit situations, you look at where we were at in the third period with Pueblo up 2-0. Seemed like a lot of the game was going in our favor as far as the way we were playing, and then you get shorthanded. They end up pulling their goalie 6-on-4 situation. They score another penalty, same exact thing. It's on repeat, 6-on-4 situation. They end up finding the back of the net. I think at that point, like Steve's telling and dialing in on Marco, especially with being able to face that next obstacle, that's what we needed to do. We couldn't be caught up on what just happened for those last 2 minutes, but to erase, reset, and focus on finding the back of the net one time to win the game. And, for our guys going out there in overtime, the simplicity of the game, possession of the puck is key, obviously in overtime 3-on-3, and to see some of our more talented players go out there and do that. And when they didn't have the puck, they were defending hard in those 45 seconds of overtime. And we got a chance in the offensive zone off a face-off, puck squirts out of the corner, and a play happens in front of the net. And, Dimitri, he gets to, embrace his talents that he has. And one of the talents that he brings to the table is his puck handling in close, handling a puck within a circle of his body, maybe 5 or 6 feet. And that's exactly what he got to showcase in the top of the crease against their goalie. So playing that simple, hard hockey game, and then, within that, when our guys get their chances to showcase their talents, that's when they embrace that. And that's exactly what Dimitri did at that point in time. And to see him pull off a play that he did in overtime there, that was really something special. It was cool to be a part of. I mean, that kid played a hell of a game, and he deserved to net that winner.
It was certainly awesome to see. It was a much better play than it was a call, so that's my bad. But basically the Friday night win, you could see the raw emotion. You see it in the pictures, you see it in the replay and the video. That essentially propelled the team into a pretty great start on Saturday as well against Northern Colorado, a team of which gave us a ton of fits the week before. So was it just that momentum, or what necessarily maybe changed?
Well, I think that the week before we had some distractions, in the locker room as a group that kind of kept us from keeping our eye on the prize, especially against Northern Colorado. Those are the most important games right now based on the structure of the standings. And I think our guys this week were able to focus in on that. They're feeling good about where they're at after Friday night's game. No distractions. They're ready to go for Saturday, and with them feeling good, they're able to get off to a quick start and perform very, very well for the first. They performed well the whole game, but for the first 20, 25 minutes, they were really on top of it and setting momentum in our favor. So I think that with how vital and important that game was to our team, those guys came out motivated to play, and them being confident from the night before, it was a recipe for success.
And then, Steve, I just had something kind of come to mind, but Saturday, it was a 5-1 win. Late in the third, we kind of opened it up, ran away, empty net goal here, power play goal. Steve, pretty much throughout the first and second period, even in the third period, there was pretty excellent goaltending on both sides. Obviously, with you being a goaltending coach, you played in net for a long time. Do games like that, when you look across the ice and you see the other guy playing that well, does that motivate you as a goaltender, and is that something for our goalies that they kind of rise to the occasion as well?
Absolutely. You want to be number one at your position, and all eyes are on you when that puck's coming towards you. So you definitely want to outshine the other guy across the ice for sure. Having the motivation from your teammates, the support, all that as well, that's definitely big, building up that confidence for these guys as well too. And Marco and Sava are fortunate to have really good teammates where some of these other teams, I don't think they're very supportive of their goaltending as much as we are, and I feel like that really goes a long ways as well.
No, it certainly showed, and obviously giving up, I think, 4 goals over the weekend showed quite a bit. So hats off to your guys in net, and obviously for Kenny and Nick, you guys did an excellent job all the way around. So But every game, it was like playoff hockey. And even Sunday, we went into the third period. I think it was 2-1. Mater put us ahead. We had another beautiful goal, I think, just before that. So, but it was close. Everything was rather tight. There were some things going on, chippiness here and there, but it didn't really get out of hand until pretty much the third period. So, obviously the Bulls had an issue staying out of the box, and we really took advantage of that. But do those games increase the awareness, from the coaching staff to make sure maybe guys don't get hurt because of that chippiness, or things don't get out of hand even more?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what side you're on, I mean, that's a tough spot to be in for Pueblo in that third period from their players and their staff. It's tough. We've been in the same spot, throughout the season where you just feel like, I mean, just the week before, we penalty minutes in Northern Colorado on that, was it Sunday? We're 44-6 for Ogden. So we've been there too. It's hard to stomach. It's hard to be a part of. But, when you look at that from an unbiased standpoint, you really just want the safety of the players on both teams to get out of a game like that with no one hurt, everyone being able to play their next game. And for both teams on Sunday, their next game was against the same team next weekend. So us going to Pueblo and playing them again, everyone wanted to have all their players in the lineup. Everyone wanted to have all their players healthy. And, for us, like, obviously emotions fly throughout the game. They're always heated games with Pueblo, with every team in our division. But to see everyone walk away healthy and, obviously us being able to net a couple power play goals, I think it helped with some of our power play concerns the week before, give our guys a little bit more confidence and just kind of getting back to the basics on some of those routine power play type plays. I think it helped us for sure, but ultimately the most important thing is that everyone got out of that game safe for both sides.
Yeah, and coming back to Steve, what were some takeaways? Was there anything still that after that series, or I guess the 3 games for the goalies to still continue to improve on, or is it more so, what was working worked, keep things going? Obviously, there was some pretty spectacular saves, but was there anything able to take away from that where you still look at and see, okay, we can still work on this and get even better?
I mean, there's not much you can change. I mean, you get a 2 goals against performance. That's almost good for a win almost any night in our division, with especially the offensive power that we have. So I would say I would say to keep things the same versus changing anything, especially with the goalie routine and having that like daily, like, this is how I do things. That's like a big deal for a goalie. We're just kind of weird like that. So whatever they did that day to prepare, whatever they ate, whatever they wore, whatever, those little superstitions might have been, you could probably expect them to continue that on for the rest of the season. Because, I mean, if we can get performances like that from both those guys game in and game out, I really like our chances. I mean, I feel like we're going to score more than 2 goals every game, so if we can hold teams to, 3 and under even, it's where, the 4 goals, the 5 goals, that's really hard to win games after, it's not a lot of offensive power at that point. So
Yeah, so certainly keep things structured, essentially.
Yep.
So, sure enough, we said we're going to Pueblo this weekend. After playing them twice this weekend, the schedule is pretty compacted, and you see a lot of the same teams. But Kenny, being that we're going to Pueblo again, does anything from Sunday, do you think, really carry over into maybe the planning for this weekend of, stay out of some of the antics, try to, just play your game?
Yeah, I mean, like we've said all year long, when we play Pueblo, it's an emotional series, right? It always is. Both teams come ready to play for those games. They're hard and heavy hockey games, and we always look forward to playing them because it's very energetic, and it brings out the best in both teams. And for us, the planning doesn't change. It's a little bit easier to plan when you're planning for one team on a weekend. I feel like we haven't had that in a while now, and you look at the last couple weeks, besides last weekend, a couple weeks before, we did not have that. So being able to plan for one team and one team only and dive into their stuff and their structure, and the guys, they know what they're getting every week out of our pre-scouts and, our practice plans, going according to what we're seeing that weekend on our opponent. And I think, playing them last weekend and playing them this weekend just makes you that much more familiar with what's going on. You don't have those gap times where you're away from that team and you're seeing exactly what they're doing in every intricate situation of the game, and being able to play them 5 out of 6 games in a row, it really allows us as a staff to dive in and look at things that you might not look at on a daily basis when you're playing a team, let's say, one time. on a weekend or one time in 3 different opponents like we had a couple weeks ago. So definitely the planning's more detailed, but it's like you said early on in this tonight that it's crucial for us to walk away with as many points, if not all the points this weekend, and help solidify a spot in home ice and playoffs. That's what we're looking for at this point in time.
Yeah, obviously, certainly important. We want to host playoffs for sure. I think that's a huge advantage for us, being able to play at home. We've said it time in and time again that we feel like we have the best fans in the world, and being able to play in front of you guys is the ultimate goal. Hopefully, there'd be a chance where we could somehow lock up one, but that's going to be a little tough right now. But I think we like our chances where we're at, and we're going to continue to keep working that way. So the Bulls coming into this weekend, 17, 23, 1-2. Good for fourth in the Mountain Division. This season, Ogden leads the season series 5 games to 2. Those 2 games, it was one in October, one in December. The all-time series lead, Ogden leads 13-6. So call it a rivalry if you want, but we tend to win most of those games, so good luck, because I know they're watching. Anyways, without further ado, we said we invited our goaltending coach, Steve Soto, on here, so we'll talk a little bit more about him, his background. Steve came to us from the Utah Wolves AA program. You were there for a season, right?
Yep, I was there for a season. They were kind of supposed to be a feeder team with the 14s and 15s and older programs as well. They trying to expand more with the program. They're unfortunately not even an existing program here in Utah anymore. So,
well,
we pretty successful program though. So I mean, a lot of those guys have moved on. They're now playing, at our highest level here, or a few guys have moved on out of state to play at some pretty high levels as well there too. So,
well, I was going to say, in the time that you were there in the lone season, you guys went from maybe not ranked or lower ranked to 33rd in the country. So pretty quick ascension there. So good job on the 1 year. We're glad to have you here. So
Yeah.
that helps us a ton.
yeah.
But prior to joining the Wolves, Steve served as an assistant coach for the West Coast Renegades AAA team. You remember that experience? How was that?
Yep, that was a tough first year experience for AAA, but just glad to be a part of it. I love working with youth hockey. I love trying to push kids to that next level. So whether it's successful or not, as long as those kids are learning something, there's takeaways, and I'm able to see a positive out of that.
Well, and then one of the biggest things for you as a head coach, you were also a head coach at Weber State University, where you also played for 4 years.
Yep.
So from 2007 to 2011, Steve was the head coach of the Weber State hockey program. The team, while he was there, finished 15th in the nation in ACHA Division II. You also served as the coaching director of the Davis County Youth Hockey Association. Tell us a little bit about being able to, not only coach but play at the same program where you spent a lot of time growing up and continuing to develop yourself as a hockey player and, earn an education at the same time.
Yeah, that's actually a unique situation for sure. I finished out my playing and, had another former teammate that had taken over the Division II program. At that time, they were split. There was a Division I and Division II. So after playing, I kind of hopped on with him after, 2 years of being out, and kind of fell in my lap that he was kind of getting the boot, and the program might be in some turmoil unless someone stepped in to run the program. So I took over that and had some success for the first 2 years, and was able to keep that program going, and here we are with it still today. So pretty proud of that, being a player and being able to give back, because I enjoyed playing for the team. I had a great experience playing here. It was a lot of fun playing for Weber State, as a club hockey team, and we even had success as a team too. So to be able to come back and do that and repeat, some of those things as a coach as I did as a player, that was pretty awesome.
Well, it's pretty exciting that not only did you get to play college hockey there, coach college hockey there, but now you are coaching junior hockey team, all the ice sheet. I have another question later on, but now I'm kind of curious of your answer. What's it like to kind of see so much kind of change and growth in just the building alone from what you've seen?
So when I was a senior in high school, before I even played juniors, I'd come to Ogden, Utah for a showcase. It was a AA showcase. It was the Great Western Showcase. I don't even know if they do it here anymore. So came here. We ended up winning, but we were able to like tour Ogden. We played most of our games at the ice sheet. We went snowboarding, walked around campus, all this stuff. I was like, wow, this place is amazing. So after I'd finished my junior career, I had an offer for 2 schools to play at, and one of them was here. I was like, this is an easy choice. So within even that 2 years time from, coming in high school to now playing college here, I mean, just the amount of traffic, the community's involvement, the growth of all the programs. I mean, it's now formed into now what you see, there. And when I played, that culture kind of grew with, us playing those Utah State rivalries and us sharing that rink and having 2 programs in there, and that place just being completely packed and unreal that everyone, I mean, you'd see what the experience is like as well. So, yeah, I mean, just coming back full circle and now having that double sheet and continuing to have, 2 big programs there essentially, and the youth hockey there, and it's, only getting stronger. It's important to me, to see that all going. So, yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. And obviously pretty appropriate time to give a shout out to Weber State. Their hockey program, they just beat BYU the other day. It was a 4-3 win. They eventually, I forget what the cup is called, but somebody messaged me earlier, wanted to give a shout out to them. So won basically a state championship for ACHA hockey, 4-3 over BYU. Definitely a pretty exciting moment for us up here. Kind of sad. We have a player who's playing for BYU. He finished things up or will be soon. So we play both sides of that, but it's a great rivalry, and obviously you've been part of that, and I'm sure it's a little bit nicer to see your college win and bring back that trophy. So, but they're not done. They're moving on to nationals, I think, pretty soon after this, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I haven't really paid too much attention as far as like where their rankings at, but I just know they've got a really good season going, and they're really exciting to watch. So.
Mm-hmm. So
that's always fun too, right?
Yeah.
Former Mustangs players playing around too. So,
Kenny, what's that like for you? Cole was with us last year. He's another player who's been around for a long time here in Ogden. He's born and bred, and continuing his successful hockey career even after the Mustangs. I think he actually leads Weber State with, I think it's 31 goals now.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I mean, we're super proud of Cole. That was obviously a unique situation last year with his grandfather starting that hockey program there, and we knew that he always wanted to go there, but he was of age to help us last year and came in around maybe a little earlier, but around this time last year, and he gelled really quickly with our boys because he's a person of character, and he's a guy that we saw very fit for our program as a person. So I still see him every day in the rink or every other day when we run into him in the hallway, and he's always more than polite with us and always interested in what's going on in our program, and it's just great to see that he's moving on to a level where he's happy and he's having success, and he feels at home. So for us to be able to support him and see him, we're still under the same roof. It's a really cool feeling. A really cool feeling for our staff to be able to watch that kid be as successful as he has at the college level.
So he's definitely one of those guys who's probably going to be successful at whatever it's at, whether it be training for some sort of Ironman competition, just cutting down trees like I literally every day on Instagram. He's doing something crazy. So big shout out to Cole. It's funny enough that we talk about going full circle with some of this stuff because you guys both, you're not coaching in the WSHL, but you both played in the WSHL. So, Kenny, we know a little bit about your history. Steve, you played with probably some of the cooler names in the Western states, the Alaska Sinbad Sailors.
Yep.
And the Flagstaff Mountaineers. That's Sinbad Sailors. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sinbad was a kind of like I guess, MySpace or like a startup social media type. This is back in 97, 98, something like that. So, yeah, that's kind of, he owned our program, and probably the worst logo and the worst colors, and the arena was fun. The experience was awesome, but yeah, it's different. The owner was trying to own his own company and a hockey team at the same time, so he basically left everything just up to the one head coach, and whatever assistant coach he had rolling in that day. So a little tougher.
Well, the other thing I'm pretty curious about, and I know you and I have talked about this, but talk about playing junior hockey in Alaska. You're pretty far away from most of the other teams you probably played in the Western States. I'm sure there wasn't too many teams in Canada, if any at all, at that point. But what was that travel like? The schedules, living there, bonding with your teammates. What was all that like?
Yeah, so when I went to Alaska, it was already, it was already after the break. So it was, or maybe it was just before Christmas. I can't remember that long ago, right? But I actually started out with the Colorado Cougars that year, got traded up to Alaska and finished off with them. But, my experience there for, the 7 or 8 weeks there, I had a great time. Everywhere I was at, I had a great time. I learned as much about the game as I possibly could, not only my position, but, all the other positions out there as well, so that I could be the best teammate, whether I was playing, whether I was, fighting for a position, which was mostly my case, honestly, straight up. So, and I always kind of knew that going in because I started late as well, but I got to play and I got to have that experience, and my teammates were great to me, and I'll never forget being out there, and I had some really good coaches at that time too. So,
Kenny, you ever travel up to Alaska, play up there?
Nope, not once.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. Well, it sounds like a bad thing. If Steve had that much fun, I should have made my way up there.
Well, tell us a little bit about Steve. Obviously, he takes a lot of pressure off of you and Nick, working with the goalies. I don't know if you know much about goalies. We didn't know Sava played goalie only for 5 years. Then all of a sudden, he's lights out. So, what's Steve like for you as a head coach, being able to take that and, as you're working on things in practice and really lean in on the goalies?
Yes, Steve's an extremely valuable tool. And first off, he's a great guy, right? I mean, you can look at him as the asset that he is on the team, but the first thing that I think of is Steve being a great guy. He's easy to work with, easy to hang out with. That's something that I really value in a person is their character. So for Steve, being able to come in and adjust to our schedule every single day with whatever we're planning on working on with the guys. It's not, he doesn't come in and it's his show or his way. He wants to adjust to what we're doing, and he wants what's best for those kids, especially the ones in the crease every single day. And, whatever we're giving the guys on a certain day, Steve will adjust to that, and he knows that he's going to find time in practice to work with them individually. And for us, being able to lean on him for those things, and, him give that great information that he gives every single day to our goalies, and give them that intimate, one-on-one, one-on-two type of relationship where they get extra time and extra focus from a coach's eyes. It's I can't explain the value that comes with that. A lot of junior teams will just have their kids, they get in the net and they're basically a target. They get hit with a bunch of pucks and then they go home, and then they expect to, the coaches expect them to perform top notch in a game. Where I don't really see that as a recipe for success. But when you have a guy like you do, Steve, who's a committed teammate, and on top of it, he's a great mentor for our goalies, on and off the ice, giving them great advice off the ice, and then on the ice, giving them just as good information about where they should be in the net, the who, what, where, when, why in the crease, and the stuff that he works on with them on a daily basis. Nick and myself would not be able to focus in and dial in on that as much without Steve here. So having him completely take that on, and we trust him with that information, it makes things so much easier. And I know the guys really appreciate and respect that relationship that they have with him, because they're getting valuable, truthful information and not just being told what they want to hear. It's not always about just telling someone what they want to hear, but giving them the truth and being able to help them through it constructively. And that's the best part about our staff as a whole, but in particular Steve with the goalies, is, okay, you guys were great here, you weren't so great here. This is what we're going to focus on all week, and we're going to make that our task at hand. And, seeing Steve kind of blossom and develop as a coach over the last 2 years, I think he's a lot more confident now than he probably even was when he stepped on the ice with us 2 years ago. So seeing that and continuing to move forward with him, I'm very honored that he's here and a part of this, and I know our boys are as well.
Yeah, Steve, we appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Glad to be here. Love it. Love it.
Well, one of the biggest things I want to ask you is, tell us about the difference between playing goalie and now coaching goalies. Is it hard to translate you as a player versus you as a coach now, or are those things they just come with time?
I'd say, if anything, like work ethic. I can't stand when guys are lazy, when they have potential. I need them to work, and for me, like I worked my butt off out there. Game in, game out, practice, whatever, if I was playing or not, and so it's really hard for me to want to, root for someone that's not willing to put in the effort. But if I can find a way for them to put in the effort and pull that best, player out of them, then we've got a different, animal that we're working with. Now we've got someone that's, learning, building confidence, and they're actually growing right in front of you. And that their ceiling just got actually a little bit higher as well too. So.
Well, it doesn't seem to be an issue so much this year, especially considering the talent in net. It's essentially been one of the deepest positions we've had in a long time, I think, in net. And, does it help you, or does it help challenging the goalies when their compete level is so high? Like, is there much that you have to do to get them going, or basically they just get to work and you guys start going through things?
No, absolutely. They're looking to even be, better than what they are right now. They don't know what their ceiling is right now, and that's kind of the nice thing is, it's an adventure, and so the choice is up to them to put in that effort, to do the studying, to do the work, the on ice, the off ice, the game film, the being the great student of a game. It's up to them to put all that together along with the confidence and their ability and their strengths and be able to run with it. And we're going to support, whatever that is, but we can only get them so far. And when I'm looking at these guys and they're in practices, I'm not trying to change their game at this level. I'm not trying to do anything different, as far as their style. Their style is what it is at this level. It's completely different than what mine was, 15 years ago. The game's definitely changed. I'm up to speed with the new styles, and even now, the three of them, there's still so many styles out there that all three of them are different. Sava plays completely different than Marco plays, and Marco plays different than Sava and Tino. So, it's at that point I'm looking for what are their flaws, where are they getting beat at, where are they, what are their sticking points, and then how can I make them understand why they need to make those corrections.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. Tell us, I guess we'll start with Kenny here. Tell us about the recruiting aspect when it comes to goalies. When you guys sit down and talk, what are you looking for in a goalie? What are the things that are going to help the team? Are there certain styles? Are there certain mental approaches that each guy has? What do you look for that guy who's in the back of the net? Because essentially, like in baseball, it's like your starting pitcher. Who's your ace? What do you guys look for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, since I'm not a goalie guy, but I did grow up scoring on goalies left and right, so I kind of know how they operate and what makes a goalie hard to play against. For me, as a coach now, looking back on some of that stuff and being able to relate my thoughts as a player to what's tough in the net, for me, the number one thing is battle. Just seeing a kid be willing to do anything and not give up on any puck, even if you think he's down and out, that convinces me that he could be a part of our team if I see a kid absolutely battling. I know there's a lot more to it than that. That's just the first thing that is, do you have it or do you not? Are you willing to continue to bounce around the crease to continue to stop a puck, or are you giving up if that puck moves away from the first location? You're giving up on the second location and the third location. So as a coach who's still learning the tactic and the X's and O of a goalie, I think we all are as coaches, or coaches that haven't played goalie before, being able to see that a kid is committed to the next puck and the next shot and the rebound and not give up on any of those things, that's the first thing that will open my eyes to considering a goalie for our program. I'm never a guy that's going to consider a goalie that basically goes for that first shot, and if that puck's relocated, the game's over. So that's a selling point for me. I know it's probably a little bit more detailed for Steve when he looks at it. When when we bring him, let's say, a couple recruit options of guys that we really like and guys that we think can do the job for us, and he dives in a little bit more, I'm sure he could probably open up a little bit more on that end.
Yeah, Steve, how about for you? What goes through the mindset when you guys are sitting down looking at goalies in the offseason throughout the year that stands out for you? How do you separate, I guess, the guy you want from the rest of the bunch? What makes it stand out?
Yeah, I love Kenny's answer, actually. That, for me, is huge. You always need them to stop the first one. You hope that they're going to stop the first one, but if you can get them to stop the second and third one, then we really like our chances for sure. I would also say, I look for guys that are dynamic with their skating. What's their crease movement look like? How are they? What's their angles? How are they? Are they getting up explosive? Are they moving side to side explosive? Or are they just kind of going through the motions? For me, I want someone that's just dialed in, just going after it, like not in a robotic sense, but I mean everything's just fluid. They've got power through everything that they're every push that they're going through. That's a major thing for me. And then communication. These guys need to be another quarterback or a quarterback out there almost on the ice. You got defensemen coming in with their back turned. They need to be yelling, to them, communicating with them where they should be moving the puck to. So someone who's smart in the game and confident with those abilities, and they don't shy away from talking because they're socially don't want to talk or whatever it is. Those are probably the three biggest things that I look for, on top of being able to stop the puck for one, with their glove and blocker and those things too. So
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess leaning into the goalies that we currently have right now, you look at Tino, Sava, Marco. How do they influence a hockey game for us? We obviously saw Friday, Saturday, we had Marco twice, gave up 3 goals in 2 games. It was a pretty impressive performance on both ends. Sava came in, 1 goal on Sunday, stopped 29 shots. That was huge for us. Really kept us ahead. And then in the third period, we just kind of leaned in on the power play. How do those guys influence the game for us? And then just to shout out Tino, he's got 4 shutouts this year. So it's like each guy has their own way of doing it, but they all get it done.
Right. As a forward, I'm sure Kenny can attest to this as well. But when you know that your goalie's dialed in and they're just save after save after big save after big save, it gets you going. Like you want to go in there and score goals for that guy. You want to go in there and win the game because you hear the term all the time. Oh, he's standing on his head. That's the type of games that we're talking. Those are the guys that that's where we're going to go deep with that type of play. So having your team see your goalie play like that really gives you like that momentum that I keep talking and preaching, and that confidence just going into every single game that you're going to win. How not? How would you not, with the offensive power that we have, our ability to put the amount of goals that we do on the board? So I really like our chances with our guys, definitely.
There's one moment in particular over the weekend. You talk about guys being locked in, and you kind of see that. I think Marco, it was Friday night. He came out way out of his crease, stood there with the puck, and he's a very, he loves to play the puck. I commented, I think he's a little Marty Brodeur-esque. Basically challenged the Bulls' best player in St. Ange to come forward at him, let him skate all the way up to within 5 feet, finally play the puck to the side, and then, there was the counter going the other way. Like, when you see your guy, your top guy going in there doing stuff like that, does that inspire confidence in you as a coach as well to get the guys going?
Yeah, I mean, you like to utilize your goalie as your 6th player on the ice. And with a guy like Marco does that for us. He brings a certain confidence with the puck on his stick that we probably as a staff haven't seen here yet in our 2 years. He's really confident with that. And it's also, I'll be honest, it's completely developing Sava and Tarantino's skills with the puck at an exponential rate because they see how good Marco is with the puck, and it's challenging them, and it's making them want to be better in that area of the game. So, being able to lean on that a little bit and have that confidence that if Marco has the puck back there, that we're confident that he can distribute it to the correct spot at the correct time, it makes you have a 6-on-5 advantage. And that's what we're looking for, is any advantage you can get in playoff hockey could be a make or break at any point. So having that and being able to utilize that, it helps us be able to plan accordingly. If we know Marco's going to get a puck, our strategy, our X's and O's going up the ice might look a little bit different because we know that he can make the first pass rather than the defenseman having to make it.
Well, it's funny because my next very question was, which areas of growth have stood out for goalies this season? It sounds like playing the puck is one of those bigger ones. But Steve, is besides that, or you want to lean into that? What would you say?
Definitely, since Marco's got here, he's definitely a unique player with he's got exceptional puck playing skills. So that's definitely ramped up the other two's game, and I mean it's night and day difference for Sava and Tino and what their ability is with the puck. Sava, had some ability, but I think Tino, just the confidence. Like there's times where sometimes he wouldn't go play the puck, and now he's not afraid to do it at all. So things like that, seeing the growth from where they started in season to where they are now, I feel like they're on track where they should be. It's up to them now. The choices are theirs to have the confidence in themselves and believe in what we're doing here, believe in their guys, and we can't make excuses out there. We just got to go out there and do our job, and no one feels sorry for when the goalies are getting scored on. That's for sure. I felt a little sorry for Pueblo's guy on Sunday, but not that bad. So you know what I mean. So
Yep, you got to take those things in stride. So
yeah.
No, it's impressive to see, and I wrote down here as we were thinking that the team has got 9 shutouts this season, so the goalies are getting it done. They're living up to the billing. They give up 3 or 4 goals over the weekend, and that was a pretty big statement coming up. With what we have faced with Pueblo this weekend, it's going to be a rowdy crowd as we expect. And then we come back, and we have big games against the Outliers. We finish it up the regular season, then playoffs. So it seems to be that the locker room is basically galvanized and come together and really stepped up, right when we need it most. So it's pretty fun to be around right now. The locker room's buzzing, the building's buzzing, so it's pretty fun to see. So one of the things that I guess I wanted to lean into a little bit is we talked about the change of hockey from when you played to coaching at Weber State to coaching now. The game is always going to evolve. It's always going to change. And, we see goalies now in the NHL. They're 6'7", and they're as athletic as anybody else on the ice. How do you adapt as a coach with the game always kind of changing that way? You don't have guys who are just stand-up goalies anymore. Everybody's pretty much a hybrid. How do you adapt as a coach to make sure that you're, doing as much you can to evolve your game behind the bench as well?
Yeah, I just continue in education, basically, just like with anything else. I'm constantly learning from who's the new, who are the pros learning from, who are the colleges resourcing to. That's who my go-tos are. Those are the guys that I want to be following. Their goalies are the guys that I'm following. Their coaching staff is who I'm following, and I'm just keeping up to date with, even as far as approaching the mental side of it, or how I approach practices or anything like that. Like it has to not only challenge myself to do it, but challenge these guys when they're out there as well too. So I like it. I love continuing the education. So I'm happy to say that how I did things back 15 or 20 years ago is not how we're going to do things now, and even 10 years from now. So I'm open to all of that, and I'm happy to learn all of that, and I want to continue to learn all of that. So,
Kenny, for you, is there anything that you've seen, since finishing, and it's been all within pretty much the last decade, finishing as a player and then transitioning to a coach, and now, being a GM, like, what are things that you've had to adapt to when you look for players or as a coach, philosophies and such?
Well, on the coaching side, like I think I've said it before on here, but if you're not always learning as a coach, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to be able to, you're not going to do anything with the team you're with or the group of guys you're with. You have to be committed to always learning all the time. Whether it's not always going to be, and it's a lot of the time not more X's and O's. It's more of the mental side of the game, connecting with your players and connecting with the group of people that you have on your side, and how do you get the most out of them. And I think that I can relate to that back as a player, looking at some of the coaches that I had through, let's say, your older years of youth hockey and then through your junior and college hockey. I think back to those times, so 10, 15 years ago, and there's certain guys that you connect with, certain guys that you don't, as far as looking up at your coach. And Those ones that I really did connect with, I think the biggest thing was just a mutual respect and understanding of the game. So being able to value that coach is giving you and trust that coach is giving you good information. But also for coach to understand that he might be talking to a very highly intelligent hockey player that might see the game a little differently on the ice and be open-minded to some of those things. As a coach now, that's the biggest thing for me is continuing to learn through the players, more not necessarily about the X's and O's, but how they're seeing things on the ice and how they're seeing things in the locker room, I think is the biggest thing from maybe going, living those years as a player, looking up at a coach to now being that guy that these guys are looking up to. How the game's perceived and how you react to it is really the biggest adjustment that I've had to make from 10, 15 years ago as a player to now as a coach.
And I guess the next thing, we'll start with Steve here, is that you talk about the intelligence of some guys, and obviously a couple weeks ago we had somebody who not only had the intelligence but had the ability and the career and Ole Kolzig. What was that like for you, Steve, to have somebody like that who spent such a long time and had a pretty good career in the NHL and won a Vezina Trophy, went to a Stanley Cup final around the same time that you were still in junior hockey? Maybe you looked up to him, but what was that like for you to kind of be around somebody like that?
Yeah, it was actually really cool just to be in his presence, just to see him actually. I actually didn't really spend too much time talking to him, other than just the handshake and glad that he was out here and we can help, do stuff to support his foundation and that. But I really just enjoyed, how professional he was with everyone and interacting with everyone and, being in tune, answering the questions, just a complete professional. I to me that kind of makes it more like. I like that. I like him more now. Maybe he wasn't my favorite, one to follow back then, but seeing him as a human being, like I completely respect that. And he's, still in the game. He's still very close to the game. He's still, from coaching to now, being on more operational type stuff, and that's motivating there too. Just as a coach too, and just wanting to always, I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon from the game. So, any way that I can stick around, I'm happy to be here.
Well, so any particular player who's maybe your favorite growing up or your favorite now in the NHL?
Yeah, it was like Patrick Waugh, the Hasek, Marty Brodeur, probably the guys that people hate the most. But yeah, they were competitors, and they stood behind their trash talk, and they've got some pretty nice hardware to back themselves up with that as well too. I also rooted for underdogs like Curtis Joseph, and I'm sure there's a few. Mike Richter is another one. He was also pretty solid. But yeah.
Any favorite goalies for you, Kenny? The ones that you could score on, right?
Yeah, every one of them. I thought Arturs Urbe was cool because he had a player's helmet in the net. I always thought that was a cool thing when he played for Carolina. No, not many standouts. I mean, you think a lot of the Flyers goalies have pretty much been letdowns. So being with my team, so we're pretty hard on them there, but it's the truth for a lot of it. So no goalies in particular, but I mean, like if you look at current goalies now in the NHL, like I just love the way Andrei Vasilevsky plays. With, like you said earlier, it's so impressive to see a guy that's so big, such a large stature, be able to compete at such a high level and be so athletic in the crease and be, a thorn in every team's side whenever they play the Lightning, that they have to go against this guy. And there's a lot of doubt probably in a lot of those teams that are playing against him that they're going to even find the back of the net once. So he's a guy that I've appreciated with the game evolving now, seeing such a big body in the net, be able to move like these guys of little, that have smaller bodies, be able to match the movement but cover more net. It's really impressive to see that, and him being on the Lightning, that's really been a big thing since I'm a huge John Cooper fan. I root him on every year, so him having a nice backstop in the back of the net's a cool thing.
Yeah, actually, I'm a little curious what you think about that, Steve. The size and stature and athleticism of goalies now. Like, What is that like for you? I mean, obviously we have, I think Sava's our tallest goal right now, 6'3" or so. Marco Tino about the same size, but seeing guys being able to play the net that way so well, it's kind of crazy, right? Like,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's actually really cool to see like their athletic ability because I'm not used to seeing, someone with that size or, guys with that size that can move and be as dynamic as what they're doing as a goaltender, which I think is one of the hardest positions to play in any sport. And you got these giant guys out there being able to put the skates on, which is 100% unnatural, and being able to move and do the things that they're doing. I mean, you still have to be an athlete, to go out there and perform the way they do. I mean, you still have to have the conditioning and the mindset. And I mean, you're playing against NHLers, forwards that it doesn't matter if you give them that little bit of space, they're going to find a way to tuck it in, right? It doesn't matter how big you are. So, but I don't think there's any kind of advantage, but it is awesome to see them, as athletic as they are, and just the transition and what they can do for sure.
do you think they should change the size of the nets? Should they make them bigger?
Are you referring to our level?
Just you as a goal scorer, really.
I was going to say, at our level, if we're struggling to find in the back of the net
No.
sometimes, yes, we should make the nets larger. No, in general, no. I think right now, I think it's a good, happy place. That the game's changing, the skills are evolving in these players, especially at the professional level, and there's enough goals right now to go around. I think if you make them any bigger, you don't want to see double-digit hockey games. I know that's been a thing of the past around here and in a lot of places with lower-level type of hockey. But I think right now it's in a pretty good spot professionally, and us basing our rules off the professionals, I like where we're at right now with the size of the net and the size of the goalies.
Any thoughts? Should they have bigger pads?
No.
They're good.
It's all good. Keep it the way it is.
Does it hurt getting hit with a puck? I mean, it looks terrible.
It's awful. Depending where you get hit, for sure.
No, it's good. Obviously, it's a lot of fun to hear from goalies. Goalies are, like I said, a few times, they're a unique bunch. I certainly don't like messing with their mind or with their mojo, anything like that. Either, during the week, a Thursday before a game, nothing. Won't mess with them. So, although Marco does want to get mic'd up, so if that happens, that should be pretty fun. I know we've talked with Warren about that too, so we'll figure it out. So, I guess Steve, to figure out some things about you, any favorite moments so far for you being part of the Mustangs that you can think of?
Yeah, but it's not really like goalie moments. It's more of like those character moments where we find a way to come back and win those games, especially at home in front of everybody. And we're going back in the locker room, we're laughing, we're smiling, we're having a really good time in there, and giving out the gifts and seeing our week transition into the success that we've been planning for all week. That's probably my my most memorable moments. So I can't really just say that there's one in particular, but those types of moments, those are my favorite to see, and they happen quite a bit. So
it's certainly pretty special. We talked with Kenny and we talked with Nick, being part of the fastest to 50. You guys as staff, that was the picture I used today. What was that like for you guys? And like you said, that was a character win. We won that game because of Marco that day in net. He stopped everything. You couldn't have covered the net with a piece of wood. It wouldn't have blocked everything as much as Marco did. So, what are those moments like for you to not only be a coach, but to watch your players succeed like that? For a guy like Marco.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. It's definitely worth some of the bad times that we all experience as a team, as a staff, and players. There's always some kind of struggles. It could be on the ice, off the ice. It could be personal with family, things like that. These guys are a long ways from home, so just to see some of those things come through, I don't know. I feel like that's easier to take away.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it's exciting, and as I kind of lost my train of thought there, and I'm looking down at my notes, so it's always fun. But moving forward, what are maybe away from hockey, learning more about you? What are some hobbies you like to do away from the rink? What do you like to do to kind of reset and make sure that you stay fresh?
Definitely snowboarding. I like to get out in the mountains, camping, hanging out with my daughters. We like to go and spend time doing what they like to do, traveling to California is a lot of fun. I grew up there, so anytime I get a chance to go back there, it's always a good time. Vegas, we have good times there. Anything outdoors, any hiking, camping, snowboarding. I'm definitely a sports nerd, so I like to go to different arenas, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. Seeing games out of state's definitely been something we like to do as well.
Well, if I remember correctly, you and Kenny were talking the other day. Did Steve get you into some of those Marvel movies? Some of the superhero movies?
He did.
Yeah. How's that going?
I'm like 2/3 of the way through that laundry list of Marvel movies after probably 1 month. So I think we watch one almost every night at home. Sometimes it takes a couple days to get through them, depending on how late I get home. But I'm really enjoying them. I never would have thought that I would be a Marvel movie kind of guy. I'll be honest, I thought they were stupid when I was just looking at them from the outside. But I started watching them, you just get hooked. There's definitely some that are better than others, but I'm really enjoying going through all these. I'm ripping through them.
What's your favorite so far?
Just finished up the Civil War one, Captain America Civil War one. That one was really good. And last night we took a step outside of the Marvel movies and watched Deadpool. That was hilarious. I know that's definitely not a Marvel movie by any means, but just that was the most recent one last night. That was so funny. But the Marvel ones, the first Iron Mans are pretty good in the beginning, and we just finished up on the Civil War one, so we're maybe about 2/3 of the way through seeing all of them. I think we're getting close to the Spider-Mans now, aren't we? If that's the case, I think it's chronological. Yeah, so we're getting close to the Spider-Man one, so I'm pretty excited.
Which one was your favorite? You said Iron Man?
I like the Iron Man.
You like
ones.
those?
Yeah, they were legit. It's fun.
You got any favorites, Steve?
I definitely enjoyed the Iron Man series as well too. That Captain America was solid. The Avengers ones were good, like with all of them together and stuff like that. So
It's always a good time.
I don't. You said this would be an arguable one if people enjoyed it, right? Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, yeah.
I really. I don't know why my eyes didn't leave the screen the entire movie. I don't know what happened during those 2 hours, but I was dialed in. I could not get off of that movie. I was locked.
Paul Rudd solid though.
Yeah, that was whatever they did. That was a great performance because I could not. My apartment could have been in flames, and I would have not had a clue. The screen was the only thing that mattered for those 2 hours. So that was a great movie. I was really into it.
What about any bad ones? Any ones you didn't like?
The one my gosh, one of the things there was one of them we had to try 4 times to get all the way through it. I couldn't watch all of it. It's like one of the ones in a different dimension.
I can't remember it either. But
like
yeah, there's
Thor.
definitely a few bad ones.
Sounds like Thor.
Not worth remembering the title, I guess.
What about Guardians of the Galaxy?
It might have been the first Guardians of the Galaxy one. No,
No.
I don't know.
That's
Maybe
got
it's
your
not
music.
that. It was one that was. No, yeah, it was one of the ones right in the beginning. It was too slow. I couldn't get into it. We turned it off 4 different nights, and it took me like a week to watch it. So.
Hey, you got
I'll find out which one it was and
Doctor
give it a
Strange.
negative review. But all the other ones get a good review. So.
Well, Steve, I guess next question, we'll just kind of move forward here. Anything, I know you like snowboarding. Did you pick that up when you moved here?
No, I picked it up back in California, surprisingly. Just friends in high school that wanted to go and dragged me along and dropped me off on top of the mountain and told me to get down, and I learned how to do it eventually with grace and found a passion for it. Completely different snow here in Utah than we had in Southern California, so
It's
a bit of an adjustment when I first got
a little
here.
bit more real snow, right?
It's amazing.
And a lot more of it.
Amazing.
Kenny, you had an experience going on the hill.
Yeah, last
How
year
was
was
that?
the first time I went skiing. Obviously, because we're here, we had to do it. We went in April. uh, People were skiing in shorts and a t-shirt, and I had no idea what was going on, but strapped the skis on and chased my girlfriend down the mountain. She's pretty good at it. By the end of the day, I was keeping up with her, so I felt good about myself. But I did have one yard sale where I did, like one of those cartoon characters where they're rolling down the hill, pretty much defenseless. They can't stop anything from happening. Everything's just spewing out everywhere. The skis, your clothes, your helmet. That was me. And I look, I'm barely conscious. I look up at the top of the mountain, and my girlfriend's just standing up there just watching me just tumble all the way down the hill with all my stuff all over the place. So that was kind of the most hesitant part for me after that, was getting back on, especially with living a life affected by brain injuries at this point. To get up and try to get back on a mountain after that, I was kind of scared. But it was a really fun experience. I could see why Steve likes it so much. I know he's more into the snowboarding side. I would definitely be interested in trying that, but I never have yet.
Pretty sore the next day?
Oh yeah, I was hurting big time.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, definitely pretty sore. But just being away it does things for you. It heals for sure. Being up that high, being in the mountains, not worrying about whether we're winning or losing or our guys are doing bad or not. It's just kind of a nice escape for a couple hours. So.
Any favorite places you go?
Yeah, locally, Snow Basin, Powder Mountain, our backyard. Those are easily two of my favorite. If I'm, going down south a little bit, I like the canyons. I've been up to Sun Valley. I've been up to what's that other one? Jackson Hole. I've been there a few times. Colorado a few times. So still haven't made it up to Montana and eventually Whistler, Canada. Some of those spots. I actually did go in Montreal too. So. Had some fun snowboarding adventures, definitely.
No snowboarding for you, Kenny, right? We'll cross that one off.
Cross that bridge when we get to it. Cross the bridge when we get to it.
Snowboarding is easier than skiing, Brenda says. You're going to have to give it a go.
One at a time.
Well,
one at a time.
How about this? Here's a good question. You talked about a lot of different places you've been. You mentioned Montreal. Montreal, obviously pretty known for hockey, maybe. Any favorite rinks you've been to, whether it be professional, whether you played at it, anything that stands out?
Arena-wise, I mean, for me, it's Madison Square Garden, even though I went there for a concert. The hockey was actually going on at the time, so the boards were still set up and things were still set up. But just being in that arena, and Muhammad Ali's fought in that arena, just all the crazy, championship games and, Team USA playing out of there, and, just all the history with Madison Square Garden. I think for me so far, that's been so far the top, I think, growing up in LA, we had some pretty special places too, the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum, a lot of great history there. Even the old Forum when it was there, and now you see we've got what's it called, Crypto Arena now, Crypto.com Arena, and the new SoFi. So, the technology and everything else is pretty nuts for sure. But really cool arenas. I like the intimate, or the kind of more intimate arenas like the AHL arenas and some of the EHL arenas where it's like 8 to 10,000, and how they structure those and work with those. I find those actually really appealing too.
I don't think I've asked you that.
No.
Do you have any favorite rinks or arenas?
Yeah, that's a question that's really fitting for me because hockey's that's all I do even on the side. So that's why I pulled my phone out. I've been to 19 NHL arenas. So I plan on get to all of them at some point. But a couple of my favorites for sure are Tampa Bay. Really like their setup outside of their rink. Really good environment. Live band all the time. Obviously, you're in the beautiful weather. Vegas has a really nice setup too. Their show that they put on before the game is top notch, probably the best in the NHL. Seeing the Canadians in the Bell Center, that with just all the history that's in that rink, that place is unbelievable as well. And with the Sharks being one of my favorite teams, getting to go over to California and get a game in the Shark Tank, basically right on the glass, that was a really good experience as well. So there's a bunch of them that stand out to me. I would say the game day operations, Las Vegas wins that by a country mile. But as a whole, I really like the Lightning setup. I thought that was a really enjoyable experience as a fan, as a hockey coach, as a person that just loves hockey in general. That was a really cool experience from walking into the building to walking out of the building. So.
Mine is Pittsburgh.
We figured.
No,
Easy.
No, I agree with Kenny 100%. The way that the Golden Knights, and I'm not very high on them anymore because of Flower. That's okay. The way they do things is incredible, and I mean, you imagine that with Vegas. But I walked in, I was fortunate to go to a playoff game there, and the game, the entertainment, everything was unbelievable. When you walked in, there was 20,000 strobing lights just kind of flashing in your face. It was like sensory overload. It was insane. So definitely one of the best experiences I've ever had at that level. But
are they your two favorite, Penguins and Vegas?
Teams or places?
Places to watch.
Well, the Mellon was my all-time favorite. That just unbelievable place, atmosphere.
Yeah.
If I could go to a place, I think I'd go to Nashville.
Yep.
Nashville here is just incredible experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, one of the biggest things outside the rink or outside the arena, what they do, basically shut down the strip and you do whatever you want, and everyone's sold out for it. I think that would be a pretty fun experience.
Yeah.
So I would do that for sure.
Absolutely.
Going into some of the more lighter things, we're not really taking a break tonight, so we're just kind of rolling through this. But we have some of the more funnier questions, and these are always my favorite for the players. Steve, obviously, Kenny, we know your answers. We're basically just rolling with you, dog.
Let's go.
All right. What's your pregame routine? You could tell us either as a player or a coach.
Honestly, like as a player, I used to, if the weather permitted, I used to love to go to the driving range, just go knock out some balls, completely clear my head. I like definitely pregame meal. It was always like a chicken and potatoes or some kind of beef and potatoes back then. I didn't really do too much. I didn't like to take naps. I like to stay loose, I didn't like to go anywhere. I didn't want to have a fear of like getting hurt or doing something stupid or something happening. I just wanted to stay dialed in. I always arrived early. Made sure the routine was dialed in. Talked to Rinks staff, talked to coaches. Hopefully my teammates were, engaged as well too. I mean, everyone has different. There's some guys that I couldn't even talk to because they were just so dialed in they didn't want to talk to you, and there's guys that were just too loose. But I feel like our guys have like really good, routines. They're getting warmed up before they're, getting out there, and they're not just sitting around. They're making sure their equipment's, together and juggling balls, whatever it is to kind of get their mindset, in focus, because we're looking at, a 4-hour window from the time that these guys leave their house, until the end of the game, so preparation's got to be ample for that time period as well too. Snacks are huge in a 4-hour period. You can't leave home and expect not to have any kind of fuel, in that 4-hour period of time, and expect to perform well. So those kind of routines are solid. My routines are kind of the same. I try to mock those same things as well too.
Well, I definitely like ours with the gum.
Yep.
That one keeps working.
Yep.
Although I keep forgetting every time we start a game, and I'm like chewing gum and trying to call a game on a broadcast. So
yep.
That was always pretty good. It catches me pretty good.
Yep. We also, like when we leave the locker room or when we leave the office, we go up and we scout, the pregame. Nick likes to go on the bench and interact with the players and the referees, and we're kind of we walk through the crowd and kind of get that whole experience as well too. So that's actually a lot of fun as well.
What about favorite playoff tradition? Do you have anything?
No, not really.
Keep it the same.
Keep it the same.
I heard you're getting a haircut for playoffs this year.
It just depends. Whatever the guys need me to motivate them, besides getting like a mullet or something that I can't show up to work with, And I'm single, so I mean, I still have to keep the appearance as well.
There you go. Well, here's the next one. What about Super Bowl pick? You got Bengals or Rams?
Bengals.
Easy
Rams.
choice. Knew that one right away. What about what's your favorite movie?
What? Let's see. don't know. We'll come back to that one.
What if? Well, I guess I was gonna say, what's your dream job?
Oh man. I mean, dream job would be, NHL, obviously, some kind of high college, USHL. But I think owning my own company actually, and just being able to keep the development and programs going, and have a place for these guys to go and continue to grow. I mean, that's for me. That's my dream job.
Who is your favorite NHL player and team?
LA Kings, and my favorite player is actually Rob Blake, who was a defenseman for the Kings.
You breakfast or dinner guy?
Both.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Ooh.
Beach.
I thought you were going to say mountains for sure. Okay, would you rather... Here's a good one. Would you rather wear jorts or a turtleneck every day for a whole year?
Turtleneck, so it draws more attention to my face.
What's on your pregame mix? What kind of music you got?
Tiesto, Hardwell, Cascade.
Keeping up with the times.
Keeping up with the times.
I like it. Okay, here's always my favorite one from you guys. Fate of the world at stake. You get 5 players and a goalie. Save the world all time. Who are they?
We're going to go Ron Hextall for goalie. I'm going to say we'll throw in a McSorley, a Gretzky. About a Jeremy Roenick.
Oh, yes. Love that.
Paul Coffey. And then one more. Let's get
another forward.
How about one of your guys? We'll do Lemieux for you. Get a Mario Lemieux out there. Save the world.
No one better.
It's 2 Flyers and only 1 Penguin. That's all I heard from that.
Greatest player of all time, 2 Flyers. Sorry, Wayne. How about this? What's your least favorite chore around the house?
It's a toss-up between dishes and laundry.
Dishes are always the answer. Every time.
Really?
I
believe
Tate Jensen was trash.
Yeah.
That was tough. He said, I don't even do it anymore. I just let my dad do it.
Must be a lot of trash.
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. How about this? Would you rather be golfing or fishing?
Fishing.
Dude, that one surprised me too. I thought you were going to say golf.
Yep, definitely
Okay.
fishing. There's some great fishing around here, that's for sure. So,
Who's the funniest person to chirp during practice, whether it be a coach or player?
it's definitely a player. Probably gonna go with like a Tucker. Definitely Dimitri. Probably those two. Probably most. I'd say I'd stand out a little bit more. Foss definitely lately. Yeah, I don't really chirp my goalies. That's for sure.
What's your spirit animal?
Spirit animal?
You can pick anything.
Dude, it'd be you, like, as a Minotaur.
A Minotaur?
Can I pick that?
Yeah, you can pick that.
Be sick. I'd take
Okay,
it.
he's a Minotaur.
Sick.
Last 10 seconds of the game. You're not a goalie. You're on a breakaway. What's your move?
Going forehand, backhand, forehand, backhand.
In. Far
In.
down.
Far down.
Who's the funniest guy on the team?
Who is the funniest? I don't know. Is there one?
You could say several.
Oh, man. Funniest looking, we're going to go Zito.
Which is funny because you're with Zito all summer.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, I had to take my chance to get him on that one. I don't know. I mean, I have a different dynamic with a lot of them, actually. So a lot of them have different times different things that I find funny that probably other guys don't. So I relate to all of them really well. They're really open and, pretty caveat with me. So I like that, actually. So it's kind of gives a little bit of pressure off with these guys because they're the ones, doing most of the talking and most of, things that go on. So I like to be able to still have a relationship with them. They still come with me and they trust me, and yeah.
Yeah, the worst decision I ever made was let them chirp me because it has been nonstop ever since.
Yeah.
but that's what I get for showing up with a hot dog costume to practice. So, what's your best hockey memory all time?
So best hockey memory all time was the Grizzlies had 2 goalies in their main camp, and they needed a third, and I was available and got to come and help out pretty much with that type of thing and experience that. And I learned I can't tell you how much I learned just during that 1 week. So that just being a part of that level of play and seeing how those guys operate, that's so far been my most memorable.
No, that's awesome. How about when you're in practice? Do you have a favorite goalie to score on?
Definitely, if I do get to score on him, I would say it's Sava, just because he always has a smart reaction either way. So, and if I do score, he always makes sure that I know is lucky.
Okay, well, we have a little bit more time. We're almost done here. We have I won't go through probably all these questions, but we'll maybe ask some fun ones. So a little pop quiz for both of you. Kenny can see the answers. We're just going to go first answer. Okay. How many players in California do we have on our team?
6.
It depends if Hawks counts or not. His hometown is listed as California, though.
It counts. I count it.
8.
The answer's 8. Kenny wins.
Sick. What does he win?
Nothing. All right, we're only going to do 2 more.
If they want to get in, you can ask them
Okay,
if you
we'll
want
ask.
to.
Who is the youngest player on the team? It is Sava.
It is Sava.
Sava turns 18 in April. He also told us he's getting married, so he's just
he
like
did.
the most sophisticated person in the world.
Yep.
And
he
he's
did.
very serious about it. He's getting married this summer. So congrats,
Guys are already
Sava.
trying to lock in invitations for that. So
Yeah, I'm one of them for sure. Oh yes. Oh yes. I confirmed. We were on FaceTime. They're getting married. How about this? We'll do 2 more. Okay. Who's the oldest player on the team? It is not Samino. He just celebrated his 21st birthday in January. You know a lot. The answer is Michael Heller. One of those Philly boys.
That's right.
Okay, last one. How many Utah players do we have? How many homegrown?
6.
Close.
Any other answers?
I know the answer.
Kenny knows the answer. The answer is 5.
Ooh.
5.
Got it.
Thorstad, Miller, Anderson, Zito, Jensen. Hawks doesn't count. We counted him as California. And Samino's from Colorado. So, but that kind of brings us.
Palmer.
Well, I guess, yeah, Palmer. That'd be 6. Kenny's
Would
wrong.
be 6.
You're incorrect. We have 6.
I was right.
Steve's
Yeah.
right.
All right, I'll take it.
Landon Palmer, goalie. So that'll kind of bring us to the end here. So, Steve, always a pleasure. Oh, yeah, actually. Go ahead. Who's it for?
Whoever wants to answer it. Who chooses who plays goalie that night, and what is the determining factor? Because they're all about even in play, right? I mean, with Tino having the least, but not by much.
Good question. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. There's certain matchups that we like. But, we also like to look at the landscape as a whole throughout the week of practice, see who looked good, who we feel confident with. Health has been a big concern as far as Sava getting back into things. So, that kind of put him behind the 8 ball some weeks just because he's trying to get back to 100%. but it really hasn't hindered his play, to be honest. When he's been in there, he's been really good. But health, effort in practice, what a matchup looks like on the weekend, what team we're playing, depending on, like a team like Pueblo shoots a lot more pucks than a couple of the other teams that we play. So there's a lot that goes into it. But, when you get to this point in the season, you start to ride those guys that are a little bit more hot, a little bit more confident. And as far as our process as a staff, it is a general conversation between the three of us. Steve, obviously, his input is very, very important on that. At the end of the day, I'll make the final call. But if you were to look at how many times he's chosen a guy and that was my final choice, they're pretty unanimous. There's only a few and far between where he's going one way and I'll lean a different way. We really trust his input on that. And, Nick and I buy into what he's given us as far as the information he sees throughout the week when he works with the goalies and what he sees when he watches video with them. So majority of the time, large majority of the time, his choice matches what ends up in the net. Fair to say, Steve?
Yeah, I would agree, 100%.
That's a great question. I appreciate that.
That's a really good question because a lot of people don't think of that. They just see someone in the net, and you don't really. Sometimes you wonder how they got there, right? So. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it was actually Sava who
in
played
Northern
Friday.
Colorado.
The shootout.
Sava played Friday. Yeah, and Sava played a great game. But when you get to those points, you want to find a way to end up on top. I know shootouts are 50-50, right? It's basically a coin flip. And he played unbelievable. He really did. So, but now that we're kind of in that playoff crunch, you're going to see more of that now. Where if we're feeling good with it and we like it, and we're winning, it's probably not going to change too much. But when you end up walking away without a win, you have to look at a lot of things. And you're not pointing the finger at Sava, right? I mean, kid played great. Kid played great in that game on Friday night in NoCo. But to get the result of 2 points, that's what we're looking for. And when you lose, you're looking to change that up, get a different vibe and different mojo of someone that might be just as hot, ready to go. So Marco's been a really good leader for us, and he's really motivated at this point in time with taking the reins and earning a Division III offer to play college hockey, and we're starting to see him embrace that the last couple weeks. And I'm also seeing Sava chase him, and I'm also seeing Tino when he gets his chances to stand up. So there's a lot that goes into it, and you got three guys that are really motivated in that crease. But with us getting to playoff hockey, you got to really buy into one. So that's kind of where we're getting to right now, is that process of funneling down. And trying to see what that looks like for February.
So, and my bad for not asking if anybody had any questions. I don't know. I really biffed that one, so that's on me. I appreciate that question, Brenda.
Two good
It's
questions.
a great one.
Two really good questions.
Any other questions? Randy, what you got for me? That's a great question. Nothing. Well, if we don't have anything else, I'd like to give a shout out to our super fan and Josh. You typically see him in a Bruins jersey. He picked the wrong person to make a bet with this time because the Penguins don't lose to the Bruins. And guess who's stuck wearing a Penguin shirt next time? I hope he's watching too.
Tough week next week if he comes.
Tough week. But guess what? He gave me a shout out. He wrote me a message. I wasn't paying attention. He said, "You get game one." So I know he's going to bet again and again and again. I'm just not going to take the bet. That's all it is. So, Kenny, I'm sorry, but I came out on top this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we got nothing else, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We know it's a little bit shorter. Next week, we won't reveal who quite yet because we are a little skeptical on if somebody's watching from another team. But we're going to have probably some new faces here, and we're going to have them on next Tuesday. So we'll let you know as the deadline passes who that is. You'll probably get a good idea of who that is rather soon. But essentially, next Tuesday we'll have Coach's Corner again, and Kenny will be here. I think some of the new guys. We're going to do a goalie edition in the next couple weeks. Steve will be back for that. Maybe I'll just give them the mic and I won't talk. So should be pretty fun. Yeah, thanks, Ray. Good one. But as always, we want to thank Steiny's for having us. They're a big sponsor of ours, big support of ours, but appreciate everything they do. Next Media, who comes out every Tuesday, and thank you guys as well. Best fans in the USPHL and in the world. So we look forward to this weekend, what we're going to do in Pueblo, and hopefully it stays on the ice. It should be pretty electric.
100%.
So stay tuned, and we'll catch us on Hockey TV 7 p.m. Friday night in Pueblo. We're there all weekend. Then we'll be back Monday morning sometime. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.